We're a very small batch distillery. We've got a 200 litre still. We're a 100 litre brewery, and we're also a cocktail bar. Yeah, everything's very small batch, everything's done here. We get very well supported by the locals. We distill every Friday, and every Friday we're full. We've got a happy hour from 4 to 6. And then, yeah, we're very lucky to be in a tourist town. We get a lot of tourists coming in, but that's quite seasonal. So we've got to sort of ride the wave of the seasons with that. So we're very lucky that we get a lot of local support as well. I've always been a big gin drinker. I grew up in South Africa, but I left when I was 18 for London, and then I lived in New York for about 12 years. We came on holiday here, my wife fell pregnant, and I was traveling for work a lot. This used to be a garage where a truck got parked. My dad basically wanted us to stay, so he offered us the building to do something with. And we had a long list of ideas, but there was a big gin craze at the time. That was about 5 years ago. Yeah, so I bought a little mini still, a 5 litre one. Did a course in Johannesburg. Took us about 2 years to get our license, and yeah, we've been open about 5 years now. But yeah, I've always loved gin. I've always been a gin drinker, but yeah, we jumped onto that gin craze. Yeah, I mean, I lived in New York for a while, so I do love bourbon, and we are going to start bourbon production next year. But yeah, my nana always drank gin and tonics. I've always loved a gin and tonic. It'd always be my go-to drink at any bar, whether it was in London or New York. So we're quite lucky. We've got a Knysna Lourie as our local mascot. It's a local bird that's endemic to this area, and they love to. I looked at a list of ingredients that they like to eat, and one of them was called num-num berries, and that sort of jumped out at me. So yeah, we did an experiment with the num-nums, and it turns out a lot of grannies make a gin with it. So that's what sort of makes our gin special, that we're using a local berry that's a local bird loves to eat. We've got one export client in Germany, actually. It's a very small distributor. We send about a pallet every year over to them. So we're making a London dry gin. So the main rule for a London dry is that you start with a 96.5% alcohol. So it's a very high percentage alcohol. To make a high percentage alcohol, you've got to use a column still. That's the one with the big windows going up and up and up. We use a place in the crew. They've got a 4-story column still. So anybody that's making a London dry starts with 96, gets diluted down to, we dilute to 35% alcohol, goes into the still with our ingredients. Some ingredients are in the liquid, some ingredients are above the liquid. Alcohol evaporates, grabs all the oil, all the flavor, runs along the swan neck through the condenser and becomes the liquid. So we start with 35% alcohol, we end with 70% alcohol. And that's all that's happening is evaporation and then condensation. But yeah, we use a local spring water. It's a very good quality water for both the gin and the beer. Yeah, it makes a big difference. I think it's a good base. So yeah, we've got 9 different botanicals. This is basically, we call it our smelling station. We get people to come over and smell the different ingredients. Most of our ingredients are very traditional gin ingredients: juniper berries, coriander seeds, cardamom, star anise. We've got 2 very special things, the num-num berry, and then a South African ingredient called Monde witty. It's a root of a plant. It's a very rare ingredient. It grows along the south and east coast. And it's got a lovely vanilla sort of nose to it that complements the jam sort of thing from the num-num. In South Africa, I think there's 500 different gin brands at the moment. There's only maybe, I think, 20 actual proper distilleries. So a lot of them are contract distilled, and there's a lot of big distilleries that will produce a lot of gin for a lot of different people. There's a very good distillery down the road called Inverroche. There's a few distilleries in the area, but nothing very close. We're the main distillery for this area. Yeah, so the brewery is a 100-litre brewery, so we don't mass produce that at all. It's for our taps, and for we can our own beer, so it goes into our fridge as well. And that's the Knysna Brewery, and this is the Knysna Distillery. Yeah, so I lived in New York for 12 years on Chinatown, Lower East Side area. So there was a very famous cocktail bar there that I used to go to, and I met the owner. And so yeah, I've always been very into that side of cocktails, and I love that whole industry. We used to go to a place called Milk and Honey, which was a famous guy named Sasha, and he started the whole cocktail movement in New York. So I think that influenced me a lot, and as soon as we opened the distillery, we had space for a cocktail bar, and we put a lot of love into that, and that I think is actually where most of our sales comes from, is the cocktail bar. Most of the liquid gets moved through the cocktail bar. I think over the last 5 years, we've built up a really good name. We've scored a silver medal at the International Wine and Spirits Competition in London. We've scored in the top 100 for 4 years in a row. So we are building a really good name for ourselves. And I get phone calls every week asking for our gin in Cape Town or Joburg. And I do want to start getting more of the presence around the country and then also internationally as well. We're a very small team. I've got about 5 different employees. There's normally 2 people in the bar area, a cleaner and a brewer, basically. Yeah, so we got very cool events. We do a quiz night every week on a Wednesday. We normally have 5 to 12 tables every Wednesday. We're going to start doing an open mic night this year. We want to do like an introduction to poker and card games. We've got a pool table and a foosball table. We want it to be like a community sort of local. We want to be like a local where people come and hang out. So that's the Knysna Lourie. I think internationally it's known as the Knysna Turacau, but the locals will call it a Knysna Lourie. They've got beautiful red underwings. They're very shy birds. They're green. They're quite big birds, almost as big as a parrot. But when you see them in the wild, it's like a spiritual experience because when they fly, you see their red underwings. And they're very shy, so you don't see them a lot. Yeah, so we're very lucky to have that as our local bird. When we were opening the distillery, we had a list of names, but Knysna Gin just made sense. And then looking for a mascot, it just made sense to use the Knysna Lourie. It was like the obvious choice. Yeah, so this is a 200-litre alembic copper pot still. It's very old school, very traditional. They've used equipment like this since Egyptian times. This one is made in Portugal. My 5-litre one is also made in Portugal. It's a very good quality copper. And copper basically detoxifies. It does add a little bit of flavor as well. But yeah, it's just been traditionally used because of the detoxifying qualities of it as well. Bigger distilleries often use stainless steel, and it's a very clean thing to use, but I like using the copper. It gives it more of a personality, I think. We mostly brew ales here. I think it's just what the brewer likes, and he likes to brew what he likes. We've brewed really limited batch like Pilsners. We like to experiment. It's a 100-litre brewery, so it changes up a lot. We make a really interesting black IPA. We do a stout with the bakery next door. They make cinnamon buns. So we add the cinnamon bun in right at the end of the boil. For the Pilsner, we add some grapefruit zest at the end of the boil. So we like to play around and be experiments with it. Not everything works, but when it works really well. Those are our storage tanks. So a lot of gin will go straight to bottle, but we find it gives like a sort of tickle on the tongue. And the longer you rest it, the softer and smoother it is. So we like to rest our gin for 1 month before we bottle it. Yeah, we also do we do like a contemporary gin where the honey gin, for example, we get honey from a local beekeeper. The honey is a fynbos honey and it will go into the tanks, and the classic gin goes on top of the honey for about a month, and then the alcohol eats away at it, adds that extra flavor, and then we'll filter and bottle. We do a seasonal gin, so we'll do a mulberry, a plum, or a blueberry gin at different times of the year as well.